You've landed inside the bubble with Harli G, a podcast for the superwoman. I am a mother, wife, and ambitious career woman who realized one day that part of me was unfulfilled. I launched this platform to help other women discover and walk in their ultimate purpose through shared stories of trials, fear, dreams, courage, grief, and triumph. No matter who you are or where you're from, there's purpose in your story. Insiders, Inside the Bubble with Harli G is sponsored by BetterHelp. As a partner of this episode, listeners can access the BetterHelp link located in the show notes to receive 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp and get matched with a therapist who will listen and help. Therapy has been such an integral part of my purpose journey, and I'm sure it will benefit your journey as well. Go to BetterHelp, that is BetterHelp.com/inside the bubble to get started. This episode is also brought to you by Farmers Insurance. When was the last time you reviewed your insurance policy? Like who does that? Or when was the last time you could call your insurance agent directly with an emergency? Well, I was actually able to do that. 2 years ago, my garage caught on fire, and I was able to pick up the phone and talk to the one and only Austin Brummett on the phone immediately. There's nothing like peace of mind knowing that you are talking directly to the agent. So my friends at the Austin Brummett Agency would love to hear from you and provide you with the same amazing service that they provided me. Give them a call at 678-402-8262 or email them at abrummett@farmersagent.com. Lastly, are you thinking about buying a car but dreading the process? I will tell you that's why I have a husband, so he can handle all of that. But Car Official is changing the game. Car Official believes the car buying process should be transparent, informative, and even, wait for it, enjoyable. Their experts are here to guide you, provide you with clear information, and honest advice. No fancy jargon, no pressure, just a helping hand every step of the way. Whether it's understanding your financing options, getting clarity on fees, or simply finding the perfect car for your needs, they've got you covered. Visit them today and see the difference for yourself at 770-627-4296 or at www.carofficial.net. Welcome to another episode of Inside the Bubble with Harli G. We are in full force, season 3, talking to amazing individuals about their story when it comes to purpose and faith. And what better person that I have here today. I met this wonderful, beautiful individual. Both of our sons play football together, and she has a ministry like none other. Like, some people are just made to do certain things. The ministry that you have, like you have to have a special kind of heart to do what you do. And I actually did not know that until I work out at the Y. And one day I walked in and they had a big feature and it was you and your family. And I was like, oh, I know her. Like, and before then I would just see you and I'd be like, hey, and then I stood there and I read the story and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, okay, so she's coming on my podcast. And that's when I learned about the ministry that you have. So this is Kellie Espino, and Kellie truly has a heart and a ministry for children. And you're the first person and the only person that I know who does it the way you do it. And so so tell us a little bit, I'm just ready to jump in, right? But tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and who you are.
First of all, am a believer in Jesus, and I believe he fuels everything I do, or at least I pray he does. And I'm a wife and a mom, a bio mom, an adoptive mom, a foster mom. And I just look for opportunities to live out my purpose in those venues, and then substitute teacher for special needs. Just any way I can be a blessing in the venue that I've been placed is like my goal. But yeah, I work very little outside of the home and that as a substitute teacher, but my heartbeat is to wherever I am to legitimately think through what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and to bring hope in that situation.
That is amazing. And so you are in that ministry for children. How did you even, how did that even come to you?
Well, honestly, I've always, even as a kid, I babysat and I nannied and all those kind of things. And it wasn't just that I liked kids, because I like kids, but I see specifically vulnerable children as my heart. Like when you see kids who are either just in the neighborhood, kind of latchkey kids, or kids in the classroom. As I was a teacher, I would see kids in the classroom that were not being supported or helped at home, and wanted to make sure that they had that opportunity, even as a teacher, being able to see ways, okay, how can I help without invading the space? You don't want to step over lines, but there's also times when you have to, and you have to make reports, and just, I guess that started a little bit, but also my husband was a pastor for a long time. He was a youth pastor. And so we worked with kids in delicate situations there, even just walking through divorces and mental health issues and suicidal thoughts. So those things are huge. And then having that opportunity and venue with huge responsibility. Like, how do we partner with parents? How do we partner with authorities? How do we partner with them in their hearts to motivate them to the next level in a safe, productive manner, I guess. And then in premarital counseling, my husband and I both said, like, our hearts are to adopt one day. We don't know what that would look like or what route we would take, but we knew there were so many kids that needed ultimate families, not just the support and help that we desire to give on a daily basis, but families to belong, to have hope, and to feel like they're never going anywhere. There's not a thing you can do to be cast out. So in premarital, we decided that we wanted to adopt one day. And then once we had our eldest, Lucas, who's now a senior and leaving me, after we had him, we're like, okay, we could try, or we can pursue adoption now. We don't know how many kids we'd be able to have, whatnot, but who knows? We heard it can take like 2-3+ years. So why don't we just start pursuing it now? And the Lord brought Jaden and Micah to us super quick. And yeah, just knowing that there was an opportunity to give these boys a mom, a dad, a family, a brother, was really exciting to us. And we knew it wouldn't be clean cut. We knew it wouldn't be perfect at all. We're a mess just like everybody, but we knew that we could love them and love them to the best of our ability.
So you have your oldest, Luca, who's your biological son, and then you have your adopted twins, Micah and Jaden, and then you have more kids.
They just keep coming.
They just keep.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it was also interesting, like when I was teaching, so Lucas was born go back. So before we had our kids, we lived in a really tiny little apartment, and it was in California, and we lived in a primarily Hispanic speaking area. A lot of latchkey kids, a lot of parents who lived and worked in the field. And so the kids would come home, and they would come home from school, and they would literally never do homework, never have snacks. And we were like, okay, we could do this. I'm coming home from school, so I even have snacks that kids didn't eat. I just like threw them in my bag, brought them home. And then I can open up my home and we could just do like a homework thing.
Study hall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like if you need help, we can just kind of touch on that while I'm doing dishes, whatever. And these kids were just eating it up, like loved like just having that little bit of help and then move on from there. But yeah, so that that also ignited my heart. Like, oh my gosh, there's so many kids that just need this.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we moved, okay, we're in California. My husband was a pastor. He ended up taking a job out here. And with actually a big part of that was like, we could actually foster out there. We'd have more room. In LA, we had a 2-bedroom, two bath home, 1,300 square feet. And we already had 3 boys in one room with a bunk bed and a trundle. And I was like, I don't know what else to do. And we were a pastor family with no money.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, I don't know what this is. I was like, but I know that we weren't done. I knew that we needed to either add to our family, foster something.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't allowed to. Legally, they're like, you don't have enough room.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And which is good. They want to make sure kids have enough room to sleep. You're not putting them on the shelves and stuff. So we're like, wow, that's actually a dream of ours that could come to fruition by moving to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have more room. So when we moved out here, he took the job, we moved out here, and literally we moved here June 2016, and we started our training through DFACS probably a month or 2 after, and we were certified by November, and we took our first placement in February. So we're like, okay, I don't know what this means or like what will come out of this, but we knew that we could start, and we were very green. We have no idea. We knew the system was crazy and it was going to be a wild ride, but we had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So, but since then, like we've fostered 14 kiddos, some respite, some long-term, and have adopted 1. Partnership parent 2 others with a mom who they were foster kids and they went home, and now we partnership parent with her.
And so what does that mean, partnership parents?
She has full custody, and we have them in our home as much as possible to help her as she pursues bettering herself. And then we partner with her to help the kids get what they need and help her get what she needs. And then for the goal for both of them to be their best selves. You know what I mean? And so that's a huge blessing and a big part of it, where we believe it's all, and it's not just the kids we want to help. We want to make sure the families are held together if at all possible. And sometimes that's just giving resources. Sometimes that's giving encouragement, and sometimes it's a lot more. So, so there's that. And then we have a foster daughter now who we've had for 15 months, and just walking through that journey too. Mm-hmm.
And so I think when we talked before, you've been through some challenges through this journey, right? Like, was there a situation when you wanted, you were in a process of kind of helping this child, this family, and then all of a sudden that child got taken away or had to go? Yeah. And how hard was that for you guys?
It's like gut-wrenching kind of pain. Like, I'll never be able to not cry when I talk about it, because it is that real. And it's for our kids and for us. Like, it's taking a member from your home, from your heart, and it's not just like they're taking them, but you don't know what happens. And sometimes, and thank God, like, we have been able to continue relationship with every one of our kiddos so far, other than a couple of respites that were really short term. We've been able to keep communication, send birthday gifts, like get updates. And it's been beautiful, because that just, I don't know what the word is, but it helps my heart. It helps me go, okay, they're okay. And even though I do believe God's got them and He's much better at it than I am, I need to know that they're okay, you know? And I mean, that's like our own kids. We're never going to we have a false sense of reality when we think we have control over our own kids anyways. And it's just on a different level. It's in your face level with your foster kiddos who go, and you're like, okay. And I don't have any hope in the system. I have complete hope and faith in the Lord, and that He loves them more. He has a purpose. He has a plan. He's designed it since they were in the womb, and He'll continue it, and He'll bring it to fruition, and it'll be way better than I could imagine it. So that empowers me to say yes to the pain, and knowing that it will be for purpose, and it will be glorious, and just incredible. Not just for our family. He'll love our family through it. He'll love them through it. And I've seen it and I trust him for it.
Wow.
But pain upon pain, like that does not minimize that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, our last foster daughter that we had before our current, she went home after 11 months. And my eldest son, then 16, went and did a workout that my husband had to like run and spot him because it was like, you have never lifted that much. And he was bawling and like shaking. And I'm like, you cannot put that much weight above your chest and just think it's going to happen. But he just didn't know what else to do. He didn't know where to put that pain. He didn't know where to put those feelings. And we knew for months that she was going. So it wasn't like a shock. But you don't love that hard and not break in part when they go, you know. And Micah climbed a tree and wouldn't come down. It was just real. And that's every time like you give that, it better break or you didn't do something right. You know, you better break when they go because they get to take that with them.
Yeah. So when something comes up or like when there's an opportunity that comes up, right? Does you and your family go through a process to determine whether or not this is going to be, you know, a fit? Are you guys in the right place to do this? Like what happens?
Oh yeah. It is a big thing because we took a year after that little girl went home because we kept asking the kids, like we kept getting calls and we kept praying through it, but the kids were like, we're not ready. And I wanted to honor that. Like they're 100% part of this ministry. It is not just me and Lewis making these decisions. It's all of us knowing that we all invest and we all break. So we ask them like, hey, are you ready? And then 3 of them would be like, nope. The girls are like, yep. Yep. Because they felt it, but they didn't feel it too. They didn't get it as much. They was just more like, we had fun.
Yeah.
And the boys just felt it so much deeper. And they played more of a little parental role and protection. And so yeah, they finally said, okay, we're ready at one point. And then Lewis and I just kept praying when we got calls and like, are we ready? And there were seasons where like, it was just madness. And we were dealing with behaviors within the family that we had to focus attention on. And that's always, but it was a season of like, oh no, we need to buckle down and get us right before we add more things to work on to our plate, specifically with trauma and stuff like that. It needs a lot more of your focus and attention and heart than you can just kind of muster up and because you want to. So, and we just asked the Lord, like, hey, is this a placement we should take? And there's been a couple where we're like, we are so not ready. We're a hot mess, but we both feel like we need to take this placement. So we're going to do it like a 3 a.m. placement. You're not ready for anything at 3 a.m. But it was like, okay, like, can we? Sure. All right. We're going to make it happen. And it was fine. But it was like allowing the Lord to dictate that, not just our own emotions or because emotions could be like, yeah, of course I want to take all the kids. Like you can easily get there. But then, and the opposite would be like, no, I'm tired. I don't want to. Like, I don't feel like it. And so to actually engage all of that while asking the Lord to make the ultimate decision is the goal.
It's okay to be tired, but what you're constantly doing is you're making sure that you're doing the discernment piece, and you're asking him like, hey, this is you, right? So what do I need to do? When just let me know when I need to do my part, and I'll do it, right? But just really leaving it in his hands when it comes to that, because that's a challenge. And like you said, you involved your whole family into that decision. So it's like you all are vested in this little human being, this person that you're investing in. If they have a family, you're working with that family as well, partnering with them. So, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and a new ministry within it that I didn't anticipate is working with the caseworkers and the attorneys and the therapists that we have to work with, and knowing that they're so overworked and so underpaid and so underappreciated, and they're weary. They're broken, a lot of them, and they're definitely not supported as much as they should be. So that has been a really sweet gift for me too. It's just like how easy is it to give it a word of encouragement, but how big is it to somebody who doesn't get it ever, and it's usually yelled at or spoken down of, and so trying to use those little aspects of time to encourage that part of the system, because I do know that if that's done better and more often, we get to keep the good ones and empower the future of the system. While it's kind of like tearing itself down from within. So yeah, that's a one I did not anticipate, but that came from, and the therapists that work with our kids and who they are and what they desire to do to help. It's beautiful. It's a big, huge process, but
sounds like you guys have a really good community around you guys that's helping. So it's not just you, but it's the therapist, it's the social worker. It's like it's a village, right? It takes a village. That's what they say. That you guys have that. So I want to ask you, what does faith mean to you?
Faith is like, confidence in what you believe in. I just feel like faith is so instrumental in everything that I do. And like, I even have this necklace that I wear every day, and it's like a little mustard seed, and it's itty bitty. But I wear it constantly because I feel like it's tiny. And the Lord talks about a mustard seed as like, it's tiny, it's insignificant. You could literally dust it up into your broom and never see it again. But when it flourishes, it like takes over everything. And I just feel like I want to have that. And I feel like in times of like weakness and insecurity and just feeling like I'm insufficient, like I can't do it all. And I think that's reality. We can't do it all. But like, if I have like faith that He can, and I can trust in Him, I can surrender it all to Him and trust Him, do the work, like move my biscuits when I need to move them, and just do what I need to do. Like, He's going to do the rest. He's going to fix the stuff I messed up. He's going to work around my shortcomings and then do something beautiful with it, because He doesn't ask us to make it all perfect. He asks us to be faithful. Yes. And I was like, okay, if I have this much, and anytime I get really weak, I'm like, okay, see how small that is?
Yes.
Like, that's all I got.
I'm like really being grateful right now, because I actually have a visual. I'm a visual person.
Oh, me too.
And you hear that all the time. Well, I've heard it so many times. Mustard seed, mustard seed. That's the faith thing. But now I literally have a visual now, like how small a mustard seed is. That's all I need to have.
Yep. And that makes you feel really encouraged when you're like, I got nothing.
Yes.
And especially when you just like so many things come down the pipe, you're like, wow, all right. Now what? Like,
right.
What do I do now?
Yes.
But like, okay, all I have to do is that. And that doesn't mean that I don't fear, I don't get anxious. It means that I keep surrendering that to Him and going, okay, I am fearful. I know that You asked me not to be fearful, but I need You to meet me here, and trust Him to meet me there, to help me, to empower my next decision, and that it won't be like foundational in fear, but it'll be foundational in power and strength and reliance on Him, knowing that He's the one that's going to do all the good things anyway.
Right. So knowing that fear is going to come, but every time it comes, you will surrender it to Him, right?
Yeah.
We're not capable of not fearing. Like, that's going to happen. It's going to come. But knowing that, okay, when it comes, okay, I release it and I surrender it to You. And then you take it from there. You do what you need to do. So that is amazing. So how did you discover this purpose that you had, like you have this ministry in children?
Like step by step. I feel like it was just like, okay, I did this. I felt like the Lord called me to this situation, and then a different thing would present itself. And I think that's part of it, just stepping into something that you're afraid of, but knowing like, okay, I've been asked to do this, or I feel like I could do this. And then knowing there's a need and try it, and then see where it goes from there. And I just felt like it was a perfect combination of the things on my heart and where I felt like the venue I can go into and live my purpose, live for Him, bring Him and His hope where I went, and there's not many more broken places than the foster system and the families and the kiddos that it represents. And it's scary, but I feel like it feels like the front line in a way where you're like, okay, I get to see God show up like none other too. I get to see the biggest brokenness I've ever seen or experienced in my life, but then I've also seen him come through miraculously to save, to protect, to provide for. And because of that faith, I can step into things that I know are going to break me and know that he's going to meet me on the other side.
That is so big, because you said you are knowingly stepping into a situation that you know is going to break you. So it's like, it's almost kind of like, I'm just rewording this in my own words. I'm setting myself up for failure, but I'm really setting myself up for success because I know I'm going to fail. So now I'm not going in on my own understanding. I'm not going in on my own strength. I'm asking you to take it because I don't have the capability to do it. You do it. That is amazing.
Like you said, I know I have nothing. People are like, oh, I could never do that. You must be an amazing person. I'm like, absolutely not. I literally break every time. I literally am a hot mess. I literally am not built to do this, but I don't think anybody is. Like there's nothing right. Like God talks about, like his perfect creation never had that in it. It's a broken world with broken things, and we can step into it because his desire is to bring reconciliation. His desire is to bring healing. His desire is to bring hope and salvation to all. And if it's already there, we're already in this world. I feel like those who bear his light should step into those places because no one else is gonna, and you can go into those places knowing that he's going to go with you and help.
Well, and that's also the meaning of purpose, because he equipped you specifically for that, right? So how dare you not step into that light, because he gave it to you and nobody else. Nobody else is going to be able to do it but you. Wow. And so how do you think, speaking of that, how do you think faith plays a role into purpose?
Well, I mean, in all general purpose, I think it better fuel you, and it better be the reason you do what you do. And I mean, all I can speak of is to mine. And I feel like I always say it all the time, I was like, if I didn't truly, honestly, wholly, completely trust the Lord, I could not do this, because I already break into a million pieces. But the sheer reality that I know that he goes with them when they're taken from our home, and he's with those who are hurting and broken currently that I haven't met yet, that helps me do it. If I didn't believe that, I would just live in a complete state of hopelessness and brokenness. I wouldn't have any other choice. So I'm thankful for that. And I think that it allows me to do it.
Wow. I think like what's resonating with me right now is when you say, I am broken, and contrary to popular belief, when people look at you, they're like, oh man, you must be strong. You must be like, wow, you must have it all together because you keep doing it, right? And people just see it. It's the same thing as like admiring a celebrity, right? I'll take Beyonce because everybody knows Beyonce. You look at Beyonce and you're like, wow, she's powerful. She's successful. She's on top of the world. She's got everything. She's got it all put together. But go back and look at and take a look at her story, how she began, what her challenges were. How did she get to where we look at these celebrities and we think, oh my God, we admire them for who they are, but you don't know the story. Go back and look at the story. Go look at the struggles. Look at what they had to do. Kobe Bryant said he needed to outwork everyone. Nobody in the NBA was going to outwork him or outpractice him. That took time. So when you saw him on the court and he was doing a layup and he was taking the teams to the championship, he put in the work for that. It didn't just happen, right? And so it's like when you are surrendering and you're trusting yourself every single time when you're about to take on and you're about to open up your home to another child, you're practicing. You are working hard. You're putting in that time so that whatever the outcome is going to be, you know God's got it. Right? And it's like, and then what you are doing, the love that you are instilling in your current kids when they see the work that you are doing. So, have you ever had like a conversation with them and talk to them about how, like, what they are seeing through you, the impact that you're having on them?
I don't think I've had that conversation with them emphatically. I think it's primarily just like a day-to-day life thing. But we have talked to them like, hey guys, why do we do what we do? Like especially when it gets real and things are really hard. We just go, okay, why do we do what we do? And it's to remind us and them that we're called to it, and not just because we're good at it, but because it's there, they're here. There's a need, we can meet it. And it's really not much bigger than that. Like if there's a need, you can meet it. Why not? And I think also, like you were saying a minute ago about the practice, the faith practice, I think it's also in that you get to look back and you get to go, okay, I can do this next really scary thing because I've already seen him show up and I've seen him do things that he shouldn't have done. Or I've seen him miraculously provide that, and we had no part in that, and he just did it. And it's just like, again, pointing to God's glory, like he's the one, and we can step back and point back to him and go like, look at that. And it's like an opportunity to give him glory in our sphere. And just thinking that's like the sheer purpose of our life, to like point back to him out of gratitude and joy. So yeah.
Can you share a recent experience that you went through that you felt really tested your faith?
The one that is screaming in my mind is just our current situation. Like it's our case with our girl right now is just very convoluted, and it's a faith challenging one, and that to most people, they're like, okay, well, that's a cut and dry case. Like she should be with you guys and it should be blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but it's not. And there's lots of factors, and just trusting the Lord with her and her future, as it always is. But I think because it's so fresh and it's right now, it's very heavy on my heart, and that she has a lot of medical needs. She has a lot of challenges, and we're in therapy most of the week, and it's done really well for her, and she's progressed, but she's still not eating. She's still seeing specialists. She's still having feeding therapy twice a week. And so for me, in that is a struggle, because I want to see the same vigor if she was to go where she might go. I want to see the same vigor of help. I want to an acknowledgement of her needs and getting the help she needs for the duration of her life. And I just, so I'm just watching the case play out. And as foster parents, you don't have a lot of way to communicate to the powers that be that make those decisions. You kind of have to, you're a glorified babysitter in a lot of ways with very little rights. However, doing it for now almost 8 years, I do know who to talk to when I need to talk to. I know how to communicate with confidence and grace to not get ignored, but also advocate for my kids. It's a huge part of it, and making sure they get everything they need. And so the last 15 months has been working towards that end, knowing that if she goes, I want to have all these things in place, that it's documented that this needs to happen when. And so that's the action part of like, I need to get these things done so she could be cared for in that way. And the trust and the faith part is going, okay, once she leaves my care, I don't have any control over that. And they can decide not to do any of it. And that's going to have to be okay for me, because I don't get to fix it. And I think women in general, we want to control, fix, change, especially when it comes to like kids and family. And I have to relinquish that control while still actively fighting for that end, and knowing that that's the faith part. I get to release it at that point and know that his plan for her will be best. while still wanting desperately for her to be ours forever.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And there's been cases that I'm like, no, they need to be in their home. They need to go to that family member, whatever is still going to break us. It doesn't make it feel any better, because you rip that bond, but you know it's good and it's right. And so this is just a more convoluted one. And so I don't know how it'll play out. But I know that he will meet her and he'll meet us in that decision, because it's not, and it's beautiful. Because in the Bible, it talks like, even when Jesus is being crucified and Pilate's like, don't you know that I have the authority to send you to blah, 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 blah. And he's like, you don't have any authority, but what he gives, my Father gives you. And I'm like, that's exactly our situation. The judge that sits up there does not have the authority to send her to a bad place or to keep her in our home. Like, the Lord will make that decision. It'll just come through his mouth.
Right.
And I have argued with him in some of the choices I just made. But I know at the end of it that I will know in glory
Yes.
why he did that. And I won't understand now because I'm not God. And that's okay.
So would you want to keep her?
We would love to keep her.
And would you have the opportunity to do that, or you just don't know?
I mean, if it goes to that end, it would go to adoption, and then we would have the opportunity to adopt.
Okay.
But it has to go through all the
All
stuff
the other
first.
the whole process. Got
And
it.
that's like, everyone's like, what? And I'm like, I don't just collect children. It's not like my goal. But she is so much like us, and I think just the bonding of so much investment, and our whole family is invested. I just can't imagine her leaving our home or our family. But we've been there before, so we'll see, and we'll see how it goes.
And if you saw her, you would not believe that she is not your biological child.
Baby pictures look like Lucas, my only bio. Like, she looks like him as a baby, which is really interesting. But yeah, it's such, and if anything, I told the Lord, I'm like, if anything, I'm so thankful for this time to get to know her and her little fighting spirit. Like, this girl has been through everything and some.
And this is a baby, you guys. This is not like, we're not talking about like a 5 or 6 year old.
No.
She is what?
She's almost 16 months. We've had her
A
since
baby.
hospital. Yeah.
Again, a baby.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she in utero experienced more trauma than most of us in our entire life. So you see that and you're like, holy smokes.
The fact that she's even here.
It's a miracle, first of all. And her therapist said because of what she was exposed to, she should still be having seizures at this point, if not dead. And so just the fact that she's just having feeding therapy, she's in occupational therapy, but is just like nothing compared to where she could be. And cognitively, I feel like she's very much there. She'll have issues and she'll have struggles her whole life, but it won't be to the end that she should have. So it's already a miracle. And so watching that is beautiful. And then it informs like Jaden and Micah, their story. They get to see like, hey, the Lord had a purpose for our lives. And what we can work through is because of him. And they get to see her story and what he's doing through her. And all the people she's touching with her sweet and like joyful spirit.
My goodness.
She's a little firecracker.
She's like, she comes to the football game and it's like, we're half paying attention to the football game. Cause at this point it's all about her. Like, she's amazing.
And she's a fighter. So it's pretty cool. And so, yeah,
and to know that you, no matter what happens, you played a part in her life. You that will never go away. That she'll forever be, whether she can express that or not, but like that impact will never go away. That's what you guys have done for her. That's amazing. Wow. Okay, so how does I love this is probably like one of my favorite questions, but how does your faith impact the way you show up?
Honestly, I feel like it's empowering. Like, I am not a confident person in nature. I'm very shy. Very shy.
Kellie.
I know. But I feel like this is so exciting to see what he can do with just a willing person. Like, and to be able to talk to people like, you don't have to be what you think you need to be to do what you need to do. Like, if you're called to do it, that means he's going to give you whatever you need to get there, you know? And it might not look the way you want it to or think it should, but it's going to be powerful because he can use the least of these, right? And so when I really felt, I was really insecure going through school. I always worked really, really hard. I wasn't the smartest or the A student, but I worked really hard. And so I always accomplished my goals, but it was always with way more work than all my friends. My friends were really done, like studied out, and they're like waiting for me. But I was like, I got to get there. And so I feel like in that, I feel like it allows me to put him on display because in and of myself, I can't do it. And so I get to, show up that way, just going, okay, here I am. I'm willing. And now I get to see what you're going to do through me and help me when I fall and take the glory when I succeed.
Wow. I mean, and I've said this so many times, in this phase of my life, he's asking me to have that blind faith. And that is something that I'm learning. I'm still in the process of learning, right? Because it's so hard to say. I think I mentioned this in an earlier conversation. It's so hard to be like, okay, just show me where what the end result is, and then I'm all in, because I know if you show me and I see it, then And he's like, no, but it's not for you to see. It's not for you to know. So you're just gonna have to trust me. And I'm sitting here like, oh. And it's that part. It's that part to know that you don't know what the end result is going to be. Like you can pick up a book and go to the end. And I actually used to do that when I was in middle school. I was like an avid reader, and I would get to a certain point, that climactic point in a book where you're just like, and unconsciously, that it's going to be all right, right? But you're there and you're like, oh my God. And then I would like literally flip to the back of the book, read like the last paragraph, and I'm like, it's going to be okay. Okay, I can keep reading. And I can't do that now. I cannot do that with my faith. He's asking me, he was like, you don't get to see the last paragraph of the book. You're just going to have to trust me. And I'm like, ooh. That's the hard part.
If I was in charge, I would have minimized my life. Like I would have kept it in a box and made it very normal. Yeah. And yet, because I haven't had that opportunity to write the end of the story, he's written it better. And because of that, I'm able to look through the future and go, okay, I don't know what else you're bringing, but it's got to be better than what I have in my head. And doesn't mean that it's going to be easier or without pain. Yeah. It just means it's going to be better. And I know that because you promised me that. And so it could be full of pain. It could be most pain. But I know at the end, it's going to be what you had for me, and it will be better.
And someone mentioned that, who's to say that what you're going through is actually for yourself?
For real.
And I was like, now I got to go through stuff for me and other people? Come on now. I was just like,
and even if it's for somebody else, it's always going to benefit you because you went through it in the process, even though it's hard.
Fine. I was just like, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, but I was just like, oh, wow. Yeah. So not all lessons are meant for you. They're meant for somebody else that's watching, somebody else that needs that witness, somebody else that needs that testimony. And so we're just, tools to be used by him. Do you feel like there might have been a time where you struggled with your faith?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like the Lord has allowed me to have a pretty tangible faith since the beginning. I came to know him when I was 13. And so through high school, you're just a baby believer, just figuring it out and finding people who could encourage you and be the older wisers in your life. And I mean, I feel like I have never felt like, okay, maybe this is wrong. Like I have the wrong faith, and I've never felt that. But I have struggled with the reality of like the hard questions, like why do these things happen to people? And I think that's when I really get, when you see like the worst of the worst that come through the system and what have happened to children or people in general, and you go like, why would you allow that? Why, how do you justify, or how do you reconcile your goodness and your grace with your justice and allow that to be happening now while we're sitting on this couch to many people? And that's something that I don't know the answer to. And I feel like those are the times when I have to wrestle really hard and remember who he is and his goodness, and that he's fighting for as many to come to him as possible. And he's in those situations, and that he doesn't leave people alone. And I'm like, okay, I'm still never going to understand because I don't know how that happens, but I trust him in it. So I feel like that's a wrestle, not a question of my faith, but it's a wrestle in my faith. Like I want him to explain it.
Right.
Like, explain this to me. And yeah.
Okay. Run that back.
Yep.
Right.
And I'm going to need, I need to understand that because I watch the people I love suffer and I don't get it. And I want to fix it. And I want to make it not ever happen in the first place. You know what I mean? And so that's something I think I'll wrestle with forever. But in the meantime, I want to help with the aftermath and help heal, help bring hope, and wherever I can.
Wow. Whew. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a faith piece that really allows you to keep showing up, right? Especially when you're in those situations where you're just kind of like, well, I quit, but then you wake up the next day and you keep going. You put one foot in front of the other, and that allows you because sometimes all you can do is show up. Like, don't ask me to do anything when I get there. I'm here. That's all I can do right now, right? And so I think faith also plays that part. So what is a component of faith that without it, you feel there is no purpose?
A sovereignty of God. I would say that's something that I've relied on more than anything, is that the sovereignty of God says that he is in ultimate control and that I can't mess it up. I can't add to it. I can't take away from it. His plan, his purposes are. And that's an element of faith that is almost crucial to my ministry / life in general. Like, if I didn't believe in the sovereignty of God, those other questions would overwhelm me. And knowing that, it gives me freedom. Like I said before, like just freedom to be myself with the failures and the successes, and know that I just have one life and I want to use it. I want to be wise and use discernment in what I use my energy for. But I most definitely don't want to waste it. And so as long as I believe that he is sovereign and he's in control, then I can step into all those places and know that he's going to show up, most importantly, and he's going to do what he's going to do, and I get to be a part of it. Right? So that's exciting to me. And even just like in the classroom with like the special needs classroom, restoring humanity, restoring like worth to those who society would deem less valuable or less needed, but being like, no way, like you're here for a purpose. You bring joy beyond reason to people daily, and having the opportunity is awesome.
So I can't mess it up no matter what I do.
Can't mess up the end goal. He's going to do what he's going to do.
Yeah. So if there was one thing as far as your legacy that you would want your children to take, what would that be?
That's a giant question. Oh,
I just came up with it too.
I was like, I did not see that on
Yeah, that was not on this, Harli.
Oh man, my legacy. Gosh, that I just glorify the Lord and enjoyed him forever. Like that verse. And just like the chief end of man is to glorify him and enjoy him forever. And I feel like as we enjoy him and be thankful for who he is and what he's done in our life, we get to exude that and bring others up into it.